Hi, and welcome to Citta Chats. My name is Carl Erb. I'm a yoga instructor and a student of yoga philosophy and so forth. And I'm here with Aaron Kennedy and Caitlin Rukevitz to explore various topics having to do with what the yogic texts and teachings have to do to help us with our pursuits in daily life, our ups and downs, our sense of self, and navigating this world through all that we have to do. So we're going to pick up on a topic that came up on the first one. Do you want to recap where we ended that?
Yeah, I brought up that in the teachings there's a statement that you are not your thoughts nor your actions, and that this could be something very difficult to grasp, especially because we attach to our thoughts and actions and associate the I with such things.
Right, and that raises something that maybe we should state explicitly, that not take for granted. The heart of the whole teaching is really looking at the nature of I. In the Yoga Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, this is the essence of it all. And it's there also to arrive at a theory, a view of nature, of our world, of our physical universe. But to arrive at a theory of creation, a view of creation, we start with looking at ourselves. So that's really at the heart of the teachings. And so that's hence why that question comes up. Because a lot of our sorrows in the world, our fears, our strivings, and so forth, are colored by that sense of self. So in this statement that you are not your thoughts and or actions and or body, that sets up a key method in the teaching, that if we take any object of our perception, this pen, it's very clear that I am the perceiver and the pen is an object of my perception. So the eyes here are the means of knowledge of perceiving the pen. And that the pen exists is something we all accept. It's not a subjective truth, true only to me, right? That if I insist I don't believe in the pen, the fact that you two see it, I'm butting up against, something empirical that others perceive. So a belief stated like that is a problem, because if I should be able to verify a belief. And in the world, so we're getting at two key points here. One is that through looking at the nature of our subject-object relationship, there's only one thing I call the subject, only one thing I call I. And that's I. There's nothing else in the world I would call I. Everything else is an object of my perception. And I clearly don't mistake myself for the pen. So that method is a method of observation, and then of inquiry, expressing questioning and doubt. And the whole system in the Bhagavad Gita and the sutras, the Yoga Sutras, the Brahma Sutras, the Upanishads, all these texts are a method of objective observation and inquiry, not a system of belief. And this is a really key aspect to understand, that we're not discussing this stuff to study some other school of thought. It happens to be, what do these people believe, what do these people believe, what do these people believe? We're not pursuing a comparative curiosity, but really a method of inquiry that happens to come in these texts and happens to be in Sanskrit, which is just a fundamentally human pursuit, right? And I think that's kind of why it's clicked with you guys, right? That you've made this relevant in your life now, right? So in that subject-object understanding, if I look at my car, I don't take myself to be the car. Say even if we have a really emotional attachment to our car, which, it's another source of problems, but another form of complex. But even if I do have emotional association with the car, if the car gets dented, I don't say I am dented, right? And we use these very obvious examples so that it's crystal clear that any object of perception cannot be I, right? This we accept. Because then the punchline is, I perceive this body. The object becomes evident to me through sense perception. So immediately, that's a disproof of the conclusion that I am this body, right? And it's challenging with the body, because when I get up, the body gets up, right? This entity, this personality is very real. It's not illusory, and that gets at teachings of our essence. But we accept that our essence is not the body.
There's a really good example that I remember used about sleep. And when we wake up, we say, I slept really well. But how do we know that?
Right.
What gives way to that conclusion?
So
and that's another kind of mind-body little well to get into.
yeah, and in sleep, awareness continues, though ego is largely absent. I mean, talking about deep sleep, not dream sleep, right? Dream sleep is a different state where arguably ego is present. But exactly, so we are aware of how we slept, even though during that time we don't have a sense of time, don't have a sense of space. You know, it's a very different kind of sense of self. But awareness continues, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be there to know that the sleep happened. Sleep is a tricky one to pursue. And so we'll touch some of these things that might feel kind of quick in this context. And over time, we'll explore this. If we could say, I am not the thoughts, why? Because I have the ability to observe my thoughts. The thoughts come and go. I'm doing this hand movement to show like a motion, quickly like the brain goes. And if we were to take a stop photography, you'd see hand, 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 so thought, thought, thought. But thought moves this quickly. And yet, the fact that I am persists. So I observe the thought, 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 right? And the thoughts come and go. So we also say, I can't be my thoughts. And same with emotions. And yet we say, I am sad, I am happy. These kinds of things. We attach our whole very sense of identity. And what else comes with the body if we say I am the body? All the complexes. You know, inadequate in terms of height, inadequate in terms of all kinds of cultural issues, race, you know, divisions that surface. I am this pigment, I am fair. Well, underneath that there's red. Which pigment do I choose to identify with? If we explore the I amness there, under scrutiny it breaks down, it breaks down, it breaks down. And all the time, the only thing that persists is that I am the aware one present. To say I am this body then is incorrect. To say I am aware of this body is getting closer to more accurate. And so if we say all these things that we are not, that's one of the tools in the method of inquiry, that to get closer to the essence of being of what is, we disprove one by one all the things that we take it to be. And then we arrive at some interesting conclusions, which will take time to explore. And one way we explore this relationship, you know, bring it down to earth in daily life, is through a lot of other tools that come up. You had some thoughts on that?
Yes, I just think it's important to understand from the beginning that we'll be delving into topics individually in understanding the nature of the self, and to tackle it in one 15 or 20 minute segment is absolutely impossible. And that the way that we'll get to the punchline that you've already revealed is, or that that we'll discuss aspects of our everyday life that come into play when we're talking about the teachings.
Yeah, this stuff may not click immediately. It's still, I find myself thinking harder about what we're studying, but every little plug has a place in it. You know, we may talk about likes and dislikes, and it fits into it. It all makes sense and builds upon that understanding.
So the likes and dislikes are really how we move in the world. Every decision is based around an attraction to something, an aversion to something, something I want to keep that I've acquired, fear of losing something that I have, or that I think is mine. You know, that this body is mine is also something we explore, and that breaks down under scrutiny. You know, and I do want to say that, for instance, when I said the eyes are the means of knowledge of perceiving the pen, if we're studying the subject, everything, empirical sciences and so forth, are objects of our study, right? And we use inference, so cognitive inference is a tool to perceive an object of study. Where there's smoke, there's fire. A lot of medical stuff is done through inference. Through X scans, we infer this and such might be happening. So, most fields of study, the biological sciences, chemical sciences, politics, history, are all available to me as objects of my perception. Right? Archaeology, all these kinds of things. How then to study the one studying? The eyeball does not see itself. We are studying the essence of the perceiver. So, if I perceive my thoughts, who is that I? What is the quality of that being? And this is why, grounded in the text, the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, they introduce these ideas to help us question the perceptions that we have. Right? And there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 13th chapter, the first verse, Idam shariram kanteya kshetram ityavidyate. Kshetra is the what they call the field. The field, the body is this field in which we play, in which we exist. And kshetranya is the knower of the field. This is establishing a dialogue and inquiry into the nature of subject-object. If the body is the known, then kshetranya is the knower of the field, and don't take the two to be the same. So this verse is saying, don't confuse attributes of the body. Fairness, tallness, shortness, illness, health, strength, weakness. Attributes of the body, they don't stick to the knower, the kshetranya. And so this is something we'll explore over time to get at then, well, what is the essence of the knower? What is my intrinsic, essential nature? Which, just to show that it goes beyond this particular body of text, these are things that Emerson and other perennial philosophers explore. But I say again, not from a system of belief, right, but through observation. You know, if we take this watch, that watch had a maker is not a matter of belief, right? I infer. I cannot, if you told me that watch spontaneously, you know, materialized, it's not something I can accept, right? We accept that watch had a maker through inference, through how we see the world operates. And this is our method, not take my word for it. Any last thoughts? Good, so more on the next.